to give us the latest. Chriselda, a very good afternoon to you. Look, it's just gone 11 minutes past 4 now. We heard the ZEC saying that they do expect that most voting should be wrapped up by 7 p.m. And we do know that at this stage, voting stations are taking a minimum or maximum rather of 1,000 voters per polling station. How are things going on the ground there?
Well, Alicia, we just came back through to our location now from various of those polling stations, and indeed voting is continuing very smoothly. We were told as early as yesterday that indeed there would be no more than approximately 1,500 people who would be voting at each of the polling stations around the country. The Zimbabwe Electoral Commission assuring us that there are enough polling stations to accommodate the millions who are optimistic of going out and placing their mark on the ballot paper since this morning. The lines are still extremely long. The reason why we came back to our location now, Alicia, is that we were expecting another press conference to unfold in the next couple of hours by the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. There are a number of press conferences that are taking place around the country from various stakeholders, political parties, observer missions, as well as the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission a bit later on. But I can certainly tell you the streets are extremely quiet. But if you go to the areas where there are polling stations, you see them out in their hundreds. People are really optimistic about making their voices heard in this election. And I think the next couple of hours are going to be very interesting. Once those polls close at 7 o'clock, everyone will want to know, even though we do understand that the results will trickle in, but then of course will take a couple of days to officially be announced. But I tell you, certainly Zimbabweans cannot wait. They want to know what the outcome of this election will be even before those polling stations close.
And Chriselda, I mean, in those queues that you're witnessing, are you seeing more of young people, older people, middle-aged people coming out in their numbers to vote? What is the demographic that is currently supporting these elections?
Well, Alicia, it's very different. If you look at the various polling stations that we visited, it's a mix of the older and the younger generation. But if you listen very carefully to what they say, the older generation, of course, you would sort of find that perhaps some of them, when they would want to make their mark, they would often refer to the rich history of Zimbabwe in the fight for its independence, about the role, for example, of ZANU-PF in that fight. If you talk to younger people, you must remember that over the past decade, a decade and a half, it is young people in the majority that have been bearing the brunt of some of the challenges that this country is facing. And the sentiment perhaps that they are sharing, they simply want to know what or who is going to give them the desired result, who will clean up the mess, who will resuscitate this economy, who will create jobs, who will bring about needed investment in this country to take Zimbabwe back to the once breadbasket that it was on the African continent. So the sentiment is very different. You've got those who, at the back of their minds, remember those who fought for democracy in this country, for independence in this country. And then you've got younger people who slightly, if judging by what they're saying, yes, while they may take into account the fight for independence in this country, they want to know about the issues that affect them now. Who is going to rescue them from the challenges that they face today?
All right. And Chriselda, we understand, I mean, I was just talking to my guest earlier on. We know that the South African Home Affairs officials had deployed more officials to the Beitbridge border in expectation of the high influx of Zimbabweans that were actually going to return home. But that wasn't the case. Have you managed to talk to any of the Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe, in Harare, where you are, that have returned from the diaspora, to talk to them and ask them why they made this journey to particularly come and vote on this historic vote today?
You must remember, Alicia, is that many of the Zimbabweans who fled this country fled for political and economic reasons. If you speak to those who fled for political reasons, They believe it was time for them to come home and cast their vote, make their voices heard in order to make a change. Those as well who fled for economic reasons believe that they want to come home and also make their mark on the ballot box, hoping that whoever it is that they vote for would be able to bring about the much needed change. But Alicia, I cannot emphasize enough. Many of the people that we have spoken to, majority of what we are hearing, the expectation, as I've been saying to my colleagues, including Peter Ndoro, who you've been speaking to over the past couple of days, it's almost as if the expectation that the Zimbabweans speak of, it's like a change is going to come tomorrow. It is not going to come tomorrow. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I guess a country that has been through so much, there is such hope in this country that people believe that anyone, whoever it is that will be voted into power, does understand what the people are saying. They are saying that they want someone to come and turn around the fortunes of this country, whether it is ZANU-PF or the Movement for Democratic Change. Who has been able to convince the voters of this? We'll certainly have to wait and see. After 7 o'clock, those votes, the counting will start happening. And in the next couple of days, we will know who will be the top man for the job.
All right, Chriselda, let's leave it there for now and let you continue there monitoring the vote for us across Harare. Our reporter, Chriselda Lewis, joining us from Harare, Zimbabwe.